Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. This is Katie Colleen with Colleen Cosplay, finally posting my long promised tutorial of how I made my Link Breath of the Wild top, cape, and sleeve thing. So this cosplay I did make for my younger brother for Halloween. I am going to repurpose it so I can wear it for conventions as well. And I sewed the blue tunic, but it would be just as easy to buy a shirt and alter it. For the tunic, the slit going up the side was about 6.5 inches, and the total length from the shoulder to the bottom of the tunic was about 28.5 inches. If you really wanted to keep the same ratio as I did, then you would cut up 1 inch of slit for every 4.385 inches of the length from the shoulder to the bottom, because that is how ratios work. So the rest of this tunic is just like sewing a shirt. If you want to leave a small little slit in the top as well for the crisscrossing suede laces, you can go ahead and do that. And then to this shirt, I'm going to paint on all the designs using a white fabric paint. So originally I cut out the symbols using paper, which I mean, you can tell it only worked so well. It was really messy and had a lot of rough edges, but I did it anyways. So I had a moment where I thought, if only there was something that was like paper, but it could stick to the fabric. That's when I remembered that tape was a thing. So I discovered masking tape, and things went a lot more smoothly. For all the symbols, put the masking tape on a rotary mat, then sketch out the design with a pencil, and then cut it out with a knife. And this gave me a lot more accurate designs. So this actually worked fairly well. And for all this painting, I'm just using one of those square sponge brushes, and I'm just going into some fabric paint and putting quite a few layers on that. Just be careful that it's not bleeding through your fabric and going to the other side. However, I did still have the mess from when I was using paper, and even masking tape isn't perfect. So what I did is I used a black Sharpie, and I went around all the edges with a black Sharpie, and that really cleaned it up and it gave it a lot more sharper looks. And then for the little leather loopy things, I did a buttonhole stitch on the top of the tunic, and then I could just thread through some of this suede to get that leather crossing over tie thing. Yep. Okay, so that is it for the shirt. Now we can get into patterning the cape. So I'm going to start by just drawing out the neckline. You can get this from a lot of patterns that have a neckline, just get a rough idea. And I'm going to decide how long I want this cape to be. And then you're going to mark that, and you should just be able to go around in a circle. And this will determine how much your cape drapes. I know that in the game, it's just a straight cape. For this particular design, I like to have a little drape to my cape. So if you want that drape, then instead of just making a square, you're going to take that line and you're going to continue it up, being the radius the same as you follow around the neckline that you drew at the start. And then when you wear it, all of that will drape. This is very similar to how I did my Batgirl cape. So now that I have this pattern out on wrapping paper, I am going to go ahead and cut it. This is also just a cotton fabric, same for the tunic, and then I'm going to cut a hood. And for the hood, I just took this from a pattern I already had, and then I extended the cape line all the way till it was horizontal, because I wanted a lot of drape on this cape, and there's enough fabric, so why not? Next, I'm going to sew both sides of the hood together, right sides together, and then I'm going to sew the hood onto the cape. Then I'm going to hem everything from the hood all the way to around the cape and serge it. I'm going to use the same method with masking tape and then cutting it out with an X-Acto knife for the paint. And I'm going to go over everything with a black Sharpie again, and that portion where the red meets the white paint, I used a silver Sharpie to clean that up instead of a black Sharpie. And then that is the finished cape. And I'm going to heat bond it. I did the same thing with the tunic. When you're using fabric paint, it helps a lot to just go over it with an iron. I do put an extra piece of fabric over it just so the iron doesn't stick to any of the paint. This just helps the paint smooth down, stay flat, and stick a whole lot better. To finish off the cape, I added a hook and eye to the front of the cape so that it would clasp in the front. And then I can move on to the arm things. I cut out a 5-inch wide piece of cloth on the fold, and then this could just be folded and sewn, and I would have my arm band. Then I'm going to do a rolled hem on the sides of my armband. This just was a lot flatter and neater than trying to do anything else, so I'm going to do a rolled hem on both sides and then on the ends as well. Now I can paint the armbands too. I'm painting here with a fluorescent green. I thought it said forest green, but no, it was fluorescent green, which are different things. Anyways, it turned out okay. So again, I'm using the masking tape and going over with the fabric paint. And then at the end, I'm going to clean it up with a black Sharpie. And then finally, I'm going to heat bond it with the iron. And that will be the finished product for the sleeves. And that is how I made the tunic, cape, and the sleeve thingies for Link Breath of the Wild. This is for the costume I made for my brother. I am planning on adding more to it over time so that I can also wear it to a convention, but I felt it would be best just to get this tutorial out since I said I would do it in like October, and it's not October anymore. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.